As we're off. Oh, there we go. Here we
Yes.
are. Okay. Hello, people. Um, I'm Aleesha interviewing Simon as he's had a bit of a debate going on his type thread, and we've had a few technological hiccups, but we're ready to go now. Um,
Right. Hi.
so, okay, I guess I should just get started. Okay, let's talk about societal expectations. Is there
Okay.
anything that is there anything that really makes you chafe?
Like really grinds my gears about society in
Yeah,
general.
yeah.
Mm, there are a lot of things actually that piss me off about society. I'm very, very skeptical of the way our society is.
Mhm.
Um, I guess if I had to name a few things, it would be, well, I don't like I'm inherently bothered by the superficiality that exists in our society. The fact that, well, I view society as a will social construction really. So something that a lot of people decided, well, this is how it's going to be, and then they delude themselves into believing that's how it actually is. And
Mhm.
I'm inherently bothered by the fact that there seems to be a lot of mask going on, um, a lot of role play going on, and seems to be a lack of integrity. And there seems to be a lot of rules and norms that inherently suppress um, living life as in a meaningful way. I feel.
Mhm.
I don't know if that made any sense, but I think it's hard to, in society, do what you actually want to do or explore the fields you want to explore because in how the society is constructed in a way that prevents you from it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I find that quite bothersome.
Can you give an example?
Um, well, the whole idea of it's a it's hard to get specific because I feel like it's more a general frustration than a specific one. But the whole idea of um, how you have to adhere to certain social norms of behavior and how you have to act in a specific way, and there are special roles in society that are inherently viewed as better than others, and there are kind of hierarchies in society in
Mhm.
general that I don't like because inherently you are stigmatized and excluded socially from um, yeah for acting in a specific way or saying specific things or having specific opinions because they don't fit in with what the majority has decided that society should be like.
Mhm.
Um,
Not a fan of political correctness, then.
no, not that much. I mean, I can get behind the idea that you shouldn't hurt anyone else. I think it's retarded, frankly, that some people use freedom of speech as an excuse to harm other people. Um, but I think that should be more of an internal moral that you should hold. I'm very
Mm.
much against the idea of censorship of any kind, and
Mhm.
I'm really bothered by the fact that there are actually rules, to dictate what people are allowed to say and what people are allowed to think. Because even though I think it's wrong for people to harm each other or to say, I don't think it's morally okay to go up to another person and say, I think you're ugly. For example, I think that's morally incorrect, but I don't think it should be illegal because
Mhm.
I just think it should be, shunned or well, I personally view it as bad behavior, but I would be a lot more bothered if it was actually legalized to do so.
Mhm. All right. So generally, it's you're concerned about being restricted, about having I guess arbitrary standards forced upon you.
Yes, very much so. And it isn't really a problem for me that much because I'm not bad at complying with rules. I don't get in trouble with the law or something like that. I'm pretty good at behaving myself, and I have a strong inner moral compass and know what I find is right and wrong. But I do not like the idea that this should be something that should be forced upon the individual. I think it's the individual's decision to make himself.
Mhm. Okay. Well, what kind of advice do you like receiving?
Um, let's see. I think I often like constructive advice. Um,
Mhm.
at least if I have some problem that lies before me, I don't know how to solve. I like getting some constructive advice on how to solve it or what to do from here on. Because often I will not complain about, or will complain, but often I will not view things as an actual problem and go to other people for help unless I have no idea how to solve it on my own. So
Mhm.
generally, when I go about getting help from others, it's because I'm at a loss for what to do in that situation.
Mhm.
So my mother, she often it's often a problem for me. She's an EII, and she often gives a lot of emotional comfort when I have a problem. Like when I come to her, well, I don't know what to do about this, and she will often say, "Oh, that's poor you," or something like that. And I
Mhm.
appreciate the sentiment a lot. I really do, but often it's just not what I need. I need, a bit more result-oriented approaches. I feel when
Yeah.
I actually have a real problem. Not sure if I can emphasize that more.
I understand. So you're okay with sympathy, but it's not. It sounds like it's something you're kind of able to you're able to maybe soothe yourself a bit, so you're not really at a point where you need sympathy, and what you need is you need to be able to move forward. You need to resolve.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I'm generally good at solving my own problems as well. And I
Mhm.
really don't like whining about things. I really it's a I have this weird thing because I really love complaining about things and this is not good enough. Like I just did about society, I love that, but I don't like actually whining about my own problems. Like I actually don't know what to do here. I don't like admitting my own defeat in ways. And if I
Mhm.
do, it's entirely because I then need some kind of feedback on, well, what do you think I should do from here on because I can't figure it out on my own anymore.
Mhm. All right. What kind of advice do you hate receiving?
Um, let's see. I don't know if I directly hate receiving any kind of advice because, well, I like advice in general. I think it's a nice sentiment to, wanting to
Mhm.
try to help someone. But I know advice that's generally useless to me, that my father, who is an SLE, has a tendency to do, is coming with um, telling me to just pull through. because
Mhm.
inherently I'm a creative problem solver. So when I get in front of a problem, I will often look, well, what can I do to change my situation? What can I do to change my perspective or change someone else's perspective or something like that to make sure that the problem that I can avoid the said problem. And giving me advice that tells me, well, you just have to push through and push through doesn't really make sense because again, when I look for advice, I've already tried pushing through, and I'm often at my wits' ends, and I've tried the skills I have, I feel like I've used my skills to exhaustion.
Mhm.
So I guess that kind of advice is a bit meaningless to me. At the same time, it
Mhm.
can be nice though to just get that confidence boost. Like you can make it, but well, in more serious cases, at least, I prefer more constructive, or not more constructive, but yeah, more not so not so SE like advice. I guess
You're
will work in it.
looking for something relatively concrete rather than rather than just motivation.
Yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
exactly.
All right. Next question is, how do you go about making friends?
Um, I kind of just do. Um, I don't know. I don't have an exact approach. Like this is how I make friends. It's more like it's something that happens naturally, really, when I'm with people. Um, I just talk to them and we become friends, and it's more of an automatic process.
Mhm.
Um, if I'm meeting new people, I often push myself a bit to extrovert because I feel like in layman terms, like I'm very much an introvert. Like
Mhm.
I don't naturally feel energized by social interaction and so on. When I but I know to push myself to extrovert, and often do so. So I don't know where I'm going with this. Um, I guess that when I meet new people, I will often extrovert quite a bit to get the initial awkwardness away, and then after a while, be after perhaps half an hour or so of interaction, I will get a bit more calm and a bit more myself and a bit more serious as well, because extroverting
Mhm.
means goofing a lot and so on for me as well. So
Mhm. Do you generally take it upon yourself to break the ice?
um, I push myself to do it quite often. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, it's not. I don't like it. I feel anxious when I have to break the ice, but at the same time, I sometimes know that it's the only way to get results,
Mhm.
breaking that ice. So um, I force myself to overstep my own boundaries and break the ice,
Mhm.
even though it may not be what's most comfortable to me.
Mhm. Sorry, one moment.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem.
Okay. um, let's see. You were saying that you make an effort to break the ice because it will the interaction will be better after you do, and
Yeah.
you tend to take the initiative to do that rather than waiting for someone else to do it.
Um, well, sometimes it's a bit 50-50 actually, because
Mhm.
I guess if it's a person I really want to talk to who seems interesting in some way, I will try to. I don't wait for the other person to take the initiative because, frankly, that might never happen. But if
Mhm.
it's if it's just in a room full of new people, I think I have a tendency to perhaps stir back a bit, and if I can find one or two people that I can just small talk with, and and avoid really having to push myself into a situation where I have to extrovert more.
Mhm. Mhm. All right. With the friends that you have made, how do you show your friends or family or a girlfriend that you care about them?
Um, well, I'm always ready to help them if they need something, especially if they need something like someone to listen to their problems, especially offer advice to their problems. Because just listening doesn't really do it for me. I can't listen without giving my own feedback, but usually people appreciate that a lot.
Mhm.
Um, Otherwise, well, by spending time with them, I guess. I have been told by my best friend that I'm not that good at showing people that I appreciate them, um,
Mhm.
because I'm bad at expressing these deep, sincere, positive emotions, even though I may want to. So it can be a bit of a conflict area for me. But
Mhm.
usually people know, I guess usually people just know that I appreciate them. So I must do something right, even though I'm not entirely sure what it is.
You must communicate it one way or another.
Yeah.
Sorry, just trying to. My son is my friend is babysitting my son, and my son is not very happy about it at the
All right. Yeah.
moment. So yes, he wants to get his way, so he's quite vociferous about it. All right. So you see yourself mainly as taking, I guess, an advisory role with your friends.
I do that a lot, at least.
Mm.
I try to always let them know that I'm willing to do that as well, and I can spend hours listening to someone's problems. And I like that as well
Mhm.
because I like helping them on in their problems, and I like watching them grow in some way as well, and watching them move on from that. And I just like the feeling that they actually trust me enough to relay their problems onto me. So
Yeah.
I really like advising people. It's yeah, it's
Mhm.
I think it's the role I have mostly.
What kind of advice do you tend to give?
Um, I tend to give Well, I tend to start off by always showing that they have my support, but that's not really
Mhm.
what's important to me. What After that, I will always try to give my opinion on the matter and try to explain how I see it and how I see the underlying dynamics of the given situation and what's
Mhm.
really going on and what the problem might actually be and then how they should solve it or how they should approach it or just sometimes just explaining um, my viewpoint of it can help people come to the conclusion themselves on how to move on. But um, it's often by analyzing that situation in a way and understanding,
Mhm.
well, this is the problem. And you see, the reason he or she may act that way is because this and this and this happened, and you really can't do
Mhm.
much about it, or perhaps you should try to, approach this in a different way or something like that. But I try
Mhm.
always to give I guess I'm better at giving constructive advice myself as well than emotional advice. I'm not that good at least, sitting around and hugging a person does it'll be all right and all that,
Mm-hmm.
very emotional stuff. I can do it to some extent, but it's not the kind of advice I prefer giving. It's not when I feel like, okay, I'm actually helping this person.
Mm. You used to, the example you were using there was around interpersonal interactions. Do you find yourself often giving advice around people-related situations, social situations, or is it what topics are you usually giving advice on?
Um, yeah, some social situations is not uncommon for me at least. Um, Sometimes on career and just, I feel it's often related to, it's often a quite existential advice as well, like finding a meaning in what you do. Um, and,
Mm-hmm.
try to find perhaps the meaningful job that fits your temperament or something like that. Trying to find out
Mm-hmm.
who trying to help people find out who they actually are and what they want and what they need and so on is often the kind of advice I gravitate towards giving.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that you have a focus on people's skills, talents, aptitude, things like that?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I think that makes sense. Um,
All right. Um, okay. Have you ever been in a relationship?
yes, I have.
Okay. Um, so imagine a situation where your girlfriend has done something that annoys or frustrates you. What's your
Hmm.
first reaction to that situation?
Um, well, this is very situational, I feel. Like it depends completely on what it is, but I guess
Mm-hmm.
I would be. I'm bad at expressing emotions directly and loudly. So
Mm-hmm.
perhaps I would say in a calm manner that I think, what you did there was a bit annoying. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but in a very, very down to earth, like without trying to create drama, because I really hate drama in general. So
Mm-hmm.
quite relaxed man, as I say, Pat. I don't like what you did there. Or depending on how bad it was. If it was a minor annoyance, I would probably, well, just be annoyed, but perhaps not express it that clearly because I don't wish to make a fuss over nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, if it was something that has bothered me for a while, I would bring it up in a calm manner and
Mm-hmm.
try. Yeah, I think
So
when
you're
I
always very calm about it?
usually, I'm very calm. I really don't get that emotional or angry that often. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I really like having to, express anger or sadness myself. Big
Mm-hmm.
emotions don't really work for me. Um, so I try to, and also didn't. I also wouldn't want to upset um, him or her, him or her. What I'm saying, sorry. I wouldn't want to upset her because I feel that would be kind of counterproductive to what I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
achieve. Because that would just create, this emotional spectacle. And whereas I actually just
Mm-hmm.
wanted her to stop with the annoying behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I often try to avoid becoming emotional about annoyances.
Mm-hmm. And when you're solving problems in relationships, you're focusing more on the behaviors than on the emotions involved.
Um, yeah, I think I do. I think I actually encourage people to keep down the emotions involved as well. Like, um,
Mm-hmm.
often when people are having problems, there are lots of emotions involved that kind of blur the situation to them and perhaps make them see what's really going on quite unclear. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll do my best often to, sort them out and get them out of the way so that people can actually understand, okay, what's really going on? How could I solve this, or how could I move on from this?
Mm-hmm. So, does that translate to other situations too? When you have a problem with a family member or with a friend, do you take that same strategy of kind of calmly bringing out the problem and trying to keep the focus on behavior and not stirring things up emotionally?
Yeah, yes, very much so. Um, I think like I get emotional like once half a year or so, like actual
Yeah.
emotional where I will get really angry or start crying. That happens so rarely. Um, and I don't, and in especially in conflicts, I really feel like my own emotions are blurring my own vision because sometimes, perhaps, if someone writes something offensive to me, my emotions will tell me,
Mhm.
well, you have to react strongly to this because you're offended, and then I will usually then just take a step back and try to give it like just half a minute or so and calm a bit down and think,
Mhm.
okay, what would be a rational response to this rather than a very emotional one?
Mhm. So you often actually react emotionally on the inside
Yeah,
at first, but you don't really engage with your emotions as much. You try to you always try to keep an even
yes, that's
keel.
very true. That's very true. I do that a lot. And also, emotions don't really, I've experienced, don't stay with me that long, usually, unless they're
Mm-hmm.
very extreme.
Mm-hmm.
But usually I know that I will feel like perhaps, or I'll feel angry at something. I'll become really angered, and then perhaps I will complain a bit about it for like 5 minutes, and then I won't really feel that emotional afterwards. And so it's not like
Mm-hmm.
emotions. It's not like emotions control my inner life as well. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like time really has a way of erasing all the negative emotions quite often.
Yeah. So back to what you're saying about taking that step back after you have an emotional reaction.
Hmm.
What is Can you talk a little more about how you manage your emotions in general?
Um, yeah, I think I generally have a tendency to just um, suppress them quite often. Um, and if I act out on them, I will very rarely act directly out on them. So it will often
Mm-hmm.
be if something annoys me, I will perhaps complain to some of my friends because I do love complaining. So I will
Mm-hmm.
complain just to vent the emotion off, and then I'll be fine afterwards. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and often I think just I try to get rid of emotions actually, the big emotions at least, as
Mm-hmm.
quickly as possible. because I'm
Do you,
not completely emotionally devoid. I can become
mm,
quite passionate about things. Like if something interests me, I can, be all excited and a big smile, and I I can work with some emotions, but the really big dramatic emotions like anger and sadness, especially, the two emotions that I kind of try to get out of my life, because I feel
mm,
like they blur my vision.
mm. And so you just try to inject the anger and sadness basically when they come up, and you don't really you do that all internally. You don't express them.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very rarely
Mm,
that I express them. I mean, I
mm,
can remember every time I actually yelled at someone. It's like the last 5 years or so, because it happens so rarely and so special, and people are
mhm,
so shocked
mhm.
at it as well. So it's not it's not something I do very often.
Mhm. All right, that was all very, very informative. I have an analysis for you.
Okay.
Um, so you've uh, you've expressed a general idea of chafing at restrictions and arbitrary rules, and particularly about um, not so much in conforming to them of your own volition, but having them forced upon you or upon anybody else,
Hmm.
and so which is a sign that you'd value extroverted intuition rather than extroverted sensing. And you also characterize even bad behavior as something that it's about people, about individual decisions, and about how the way they feel about it, which would be a sign that you have multidimensional, as 3 or 4 dimensional introverted ethics. And continuing this theme, when we talk about advice, the theme of extroverted intuition is continued because you tend to uh, like giving advice uh, about people growing and developing. Essentially, am I right?
Yeah, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Very true.
And people self-development is really a theme of delta extroverted intuition blocked with introverted feeling,
Hmm.
and you are also quite resistant to the motivational, the just keep going extroverted sensing kind of advice, which is consistent so far with valuing extroverted intuition.
Yeah.
And but you seem to have this ability to take it in stride anyway, because you realize that people are being helpful. You're recognizing the motivations behind actions, even when you're not necessarily happy with them, and you're able to take a step back and realize that people are trying to do something,
Yes.
do something good for you. And the ability to do this, you seem to be fairly confident about it, is introverted ethics. Again, in 3 or 4 dimensional.
Hmm.
And you're really looking for very, very concrete solutions rather than generating ideas which you seem to have down yourself. You're looking for a quite specific methodology. And is that a good interpretation?
Yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, perfect interpretation, in fact. Really good.
So that would be extroverted logic and blocked with introverted sensing.
Hmm.
And your emotional life is very much like the soulful communication style, the ethical introterms with four-dimensional introverted ethics, because you are by your description, I suppose, an inherently emotional kind of person, but not an expressive one. Your aim is not to express your emotions. It's about, you want to be experiencing good emotions, but by changing the way people are behaving, so that people are behaving in ways that don't upset each other. Am I right?
Yeah, that makes good sense.
And the particularly the idea of suppressing your emotions is quite specific to introverted ethics as the ignoring function. So the general picture I'm getting here is that you're probably an ethical intuitive introterm.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it could make a lot of sense, and everything you said in your analysis, I can't put down any spot that I would disagree with. It's also what I've expressed in this interview so far. So yeah, it's very consistent. Yeah, I don't really know what more to say, but yeah, I think it makes sense. It would make sense.
Okay. Well, hopefully this will help you and everyone else on the thread. And yes, it was nice to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for doing the interview.
Okay.
Appreciate it.